Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson, Ish Smith, Jack White are NBA champions for the Denver Nuggets. We'll talk about the incredible gentleman sweep that took place between the Nuggets and the Miami Heat. We also have Hot Topic Tuesday. You know, we want to answer your questions here on our show for the summer series. Zion, where are your Duke OGs at?
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe, making us your first listen. Each and every day, that YouTube channel gets higher and higher, so we want you guys to keep going by plugging us in to your respective shows, lists, and cycles. More importantly than that, we want you to download from the audio space because we all know sometimes you be on the go, but can always listen to your favorite friends. Kenton, how are you feeling on this Tuesday?
Feeling good, feeling great, feeling great, feeling good. How are you?
Doing all right now that we have some ACC stars who are adding to the NBA title collection. It is, of course, good when you have a new crop. Got some Miami guys, got some Boston College guys, got some Duke guys. I think it's all a part of a good mix. And I can't forget my Wake Forest Demon Deacons friends. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets doing the gentleman's sweep on the Miami Heat 4-1 to win the series in the 2023 NBA championship.
I mean, if y'all follow me on multiple platforms, y'all know that I got another podcast where I called this at the start of NBA playoffs. They asked me who was going to be the NBA champs when the playoffs started. I said it was going to be the Denver Nuggets. My co-hosts laughed at me. They said, no way. I said, yes way. We're going to see. I think that this is their year. Voila. A few games later.
Now, did you pick them at the beginning of the season period or just when they got into the playoffs and playoffs started?
I said that they were going to be a contender at the beginning of the season. As I saw how they shaped up, everybody got real concerned about that lull down the stretch. And I'm like, I don't think that y'all are quite comprehending. They are so much better than everybody else that even with this very lackluster stretch down the stretch of the season, they're still going to be the number one seed in the West. And I believe the first or second best record in the NBA. Like,
Yeah, 100% agree there. And I also think that it's just nice to see a new team, first time in franchise history, the Denver Nuggets were able to pull off the win. And I think one of the most surprising people, obviously we knew that the Joker was great. I don't think we knew, I personally didn't know how good Jokic was because of, all of the stereotypes that come with NBA players in terms of how you have to be in a certain shape, have to have a certain look, have to have a certain fit to your game. And to me, he just plays his own thing. Like some of the shots were circusy. Some may call them circus shots. Others may say he's just that damn good. Where would you fall in that category?
I mean, when you're that good, it doesn't matter how it looks. What matters is the end result. It's like when people talk about, different players in today in terms of what their scoring looks like and who has a deeper bag. The grace, all the extra, that's great. All of the great handle, all of the tween, hezzy cross, all that good stuff. That's great. That's great. What is the end result of the possession when you shoot the ball?
That's fair.
Is it tween, cross, hezzy brick? Or is it put your head down, drive, and get a layup? I don't know. But the end result, when Jokic puts that ball in his hands and he decides to take a shot, much more often than not, that thing is falling.
Now, my boy is doing one time for the chubby kids, okay? He gets 2 inches off the ground, but I bet you that shot goes in. And that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's all, they got it. Again, this is not – if we wanted a sport where we judged how pretty you looked in executing what we do, it would be gymnastics and not the NBA. But it's not. It's not. It's not about who looks the most graceful. It's not about who moves around the court like gazelle. It's about, can you put the ball in that little net more efficiently than the other guys are playing?
Absolutely. I also think it's very nice to see a completely humble leader in Jokic. He's not, the most vocal, but he does it on the floor each and every night. He is someone who's going to get it done. Clearly there is, some sort of thing where people respond to, his energy, his intensity. He works harder one of the hardest workers, in the game. And this really reminds me of the Giannis effect in terms of just guys who just want to win, want to do it for their country, want to put on, for their families, make better lives for their families, all the things. Like, add Jokic to the list.
Well, Jokic ain't the first one in his family to make it over to the States. His big brother played for University of Detroit Mercy in college. So, fun fact there. But
did he win an NBA championship? Like, what we doing?
But with that being said, Jokic got a little bit of ego to him too. All of the greats do. All of them do, and it's good to see.
You can't be great without. It's like
exactly.
a fine dance.
Exactly, and it's. I think it's interesting who falls on the right side of that fine dance, but that's another story for another time. Jokic got a little ego to him too, and I personally am for everybody's ego. I love it when
everybody's ego.
I know that's a shock. I know that's a shock.
Never.
But when you mess with people's confidence, you don't know what else you're interrupting in their life. You don't know what that confidence and that ego has meant to them and where it has taken them and where it has brought them from. So interrupting that could be much more deleterious than letting them cook with, his daughter doing the little ring finger thing too. It was adorable. And it showed that like he knew what time it was. He knew what time it was. It was good to see.
Maybe it was waking a sleeping giant. Maybe it's don't poke the bear, because once the bear unleashes, it's a whole other thing. But I feel like there were a couple bears that sort of unleashed in these playoffs. If anything, credit to the Miami Heat. You had former NC State guy, what's my twin name, Caleb Martin, doing his thing,
yeah.
Right? Yeah,
he went from Wolfpack to Wolfpack, transferring from NC State to University of Nevada.
Right. You had a couple of guys just coming out of nowhere doing the damn thing. And if not for nothing, Bruce Brown, arguably to me, has been, the unsung hero for the Denver Nuggets in this entire playoff series. Because, respectfully, if you don't know Miami basketball, you're not following it to you don't necessarily know that he comes from that crop. But it speaks to just how well he was playing. Like every single series, he was popping up and he was meaning business.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, championships are not won by solely your stars showing up. Like you're not going to win championships with solely your stars showing up. The other guys have to come through and perform. They have to. Unless your stars just go that legend to where they're putting up your big three or your big two are putting up 90 points a game or so between them. You're going to need the other guys to show up. And even if your stars are putting up 90, you still need the other guys to rebound, to defend, to do all those things. Because when one player is left to do all those things, well, that kid from Akron showed us what happens plenty of times. Break the brooms out, babes. You're getting swept.
That's fair. That's very fair. What is your famous phrase here? When you always talk about the X's and O's and Jimmys and Joes? Let people know one more time.
It's not about your X's and your O's. It's your Larry's and your Joes. Always.
Right. Mike Malone, did he coach an incredible series? Maybe. But it definitely was about bringing out the best of some of his Jims and his Joes.
And fun fact about Miami, other than Caleb Martin, who, by the way, is credited to the University of Nevada because that's the last school he played at, but we're going to claim him as NC State on this show.
All right, Russell Wilson, go ahead.
There were no other ACC players on that Miami Heat roster. Not a single one.
Maybe
not a single one.
Maybe there would have been a different testimony.
And I'm gonna say this. You just said who was a big show, who showed up big, whose name is on the screen right now? Mr. Bruce Brown. Maybe you needed it. Miami Heat. I know a guy. I know y'all struggle with playmaking down the stretch there. I know a guy.
For all those who honestly talk junk about the ACC, I'm just saying we got 4 here. There's still more to list, as we're rolling through these bad boys.
I'll tell you what. I know that a lot of people watch the MCU, but this Wong always delivers. I know a guy, Heat, that you can call on. Right down the street. You ain't even got to get a moving truck. Y'all can just grab his stuff right out there. I'm just saying.
Jesus help the children. Well, the ACC definitely has its stars. The NBA playoffs are over, but you can still get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500, $2,500, $2,500 back in bonus bets. If you're a first customer at FanDuel, if your first bet doesn't win, there's no better place than to get in on all of your sports action. The College World Series is on deck. Wake Forest and Virginia are right there with it. If you want to get in on that action, make sure you hit up FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. rocking and rolling with Kenton Gibbs here. And of course, we're going through the NBA championship game, instant reactions between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. Not only did Bruce Brown from Miami have an incredible run, Reggie Jackson, former
Boston
LA Clipper.
College Eagle.
LA Clipper, Boston College Eagle. We had to Google it because we were just a little bit unsure. You know what I'm saying? Well, shout out to him. I know he can go back to Chestnut Hill. He could talk to Coach Earl Grant, and maybe he can give a little inspiration to the boys as they head through this season. But very exciting for him to get his first championship. Jack White, who probably is a two-way player from Duke. Either way it goes, you add to the list of champions. It helps for their bill and resume as they're trying to recruit. Ish Smith out of Wake Forest. Wake Forest certainly has been doing some good things under coach, and now you have an opportunity to play for 13 teams.
And finally, a point guard from Wake Forest gets a ring.
Oh my God!
Finally, about time.
It's the only, you know what? It's right there. The alley for the joke. But I'm trying to be nice to Chris Paul today. I don't know. His daughter's going through enough.
I'm never going to be nice to Chris Paul, and I'll tell you what. That man better be the husband of the year. He better be as faithful as can be. Because I'll tell you what. If his wife ever leaves him, he'll end up like Carmelo, ringless as can be. Okay, you better hold on to that one ring you got for dear life, brother.
Kenton Gibbs. Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Did I lie?
Ish Smith playing for 13 teams across the entire league finally gets a ring. Man, you want to talk about knowing your worth and sticking beside something, especially just maybe being a person of character that people want to give a shot to, being a good veteran leader at some point, collecting that vet minimum, and now you finally get to add a NBA champion to your belt. That's pretty damn cool.
And I'll tell you something. It takes being a pro's pro to last this long in the NBA when you're not super talented or you weren't drafted. And mind you, I'm saying super talented relative to his peers. Right. And you go beyond that and say, well, what has this young man's career been about? And you're looking up and you're saying, like you talked about, he's been a pro's pro. He's been a pro's pro. You see number one overall picks who don't really develop into much, kick around the league for a while because the athletic ability and upside, everybody believes even at 28, 29, 30, sometimes 31 years old, oh, we'll be the team to get it out of them. Oh, we'll be the team. You're not.
Yeah.
You're wrong. But with a guy like Ish Smith, that's a guy who took his chops, who, has gone through all of it in terms of the ups and downs that go with being in the NBA. And with that being said, look at him now, NBA champion after the 13 teams that he's played on so far.
To me, definition of a role player, knowing you're role playing it well, and in the age where we talk about NIL and guys wanting to automatically run to whatever someone tells them they're going to be the greatest, they're going to be the star. Sometimes it's just being at the right place at the right time, knowing when to execute, knowing when to capitalize on moments. And I think it could very much, when he goes back and talks to the guys, and Coach Forbes invites him back to make sure he speaks to, these young players and talk about pushing through adversity and things not necessarily going your way. I think he is his testimony is incredible.
Absolutely. Went undrafted and then went to the G League and then kicked around for team to team to team to team to team. I mean, never spending more than 2 years consecutive. And really, this is 2 years listed. But in reality, he never spent 2 consecutive years on one team without being waived or traded. Yeah. And yet, here he goes, winning an NBA championship. And not year 1, not year 5, not year 10, year 14. You got to love it.
That's crazy. That is crazy for like that. He gonna be the first.
I'm sorry, year 12 actually. Year 12.
He's gonna be the first on the pew. Okay, that's a testimony. Man, I ain't never heard one. That one would be it.
Well, I think that there's another testimony out of Wake Forest. I mean, Chris Paul said that he was addicted to making the finals, but he beat that addiction cold turkey like I ain't never seen somebody get the monkey off their back before.
Kenton, what is wrong with you today?
This man, I don't think you understand. Chris Paul got the recipe, okay? I have seen addiction up close and personal. I've seen alcoholism. I've seen nearly every type of drug abuse. And when that monkey get on your back, it's there. But what does Chris Paul do? He said, I'm addicted to going back to the finals. Now, Miss Cooper, let me ask you, has he been back since?
He hasn't.
ain't went through not nary a withdrawal. That boy kicked that addiction in the behind, and we proud of you, Mr. Paul. We proud of you.
You are definitely the one who makes fun of has his daughter getting made fun of. Your son would definitely be the one making fun.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Absolutely.
I would not teach my kids to make fun of people because of what their parents do. That's that's between them and them. And besides, he's one of the richest players in NBA history in terms of contracts. So
Sure.
and the Cliff Paul stuff, I'm sure State Farm paying him well.
He borderline on the Chase Daniels track of just robbing people and just making his little bank.
Well, when you're robbing them, Chris Paul, make sure you go to the security deposit safety boxes because they got some rings in there sometimes. They be having family heirloom rings in there. You can get yourself a ring that way, Chris. Don't worry. I got you, brother. I got you. I'm going to find you a ring, Chris. I'm going to find you a ring.
What did Chris do to you? That's all I want to know.
Oh, nothing.
It's starting to feel personal.
I think he's much too good for his antics. And it gets on my
And
nerves.
mind you, I can't stand Chris Paul. So like the fact that you're just doing above me is just beyond. I didn't see this coming tonight.
I don't know. I think that Wake Forest grad school is coming out of you a little bit. I think you're being a homer and protecting him.
No.
Feels like you're protecting your buddy Chris a little bit.
I like people who can play the game straight up. When you have to do antics in order to try and win, that's some deep rooted trauma hurt that you didn't heal back when you were like 12.
Mm-hmm.
And you were the smallest one on the court, right? If you got to kick somebody, if you had to kick another grown man in his privates, nah, dog. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not my wave.
Don't worry about it. I mean, we all find things that are and are not our wave, and we keep it pushing from there.
Are you holding it down for what was that NC State player that he hit?
I can't remember. I know who you're talking
Julius
about.
Hodge. There it is. Julius Hodge. It's Julius Hodge. I'm telling you,
Julius Hodge.
Yeah.
I said you're right. It is Julius Hodge. Listen, you're right. But I'm holding it down.
You're holding that grudge. You're holding the Julius Hodge grudge.
I'm holding it down. I'm holding it down for everybody because Chris Paul is one of the most unlikable superstars in NBA history. How he became the face of a global brand like State Farm is beyond me because who likes him? Don't get me wrong.
He's been doing what he had to do.
He's the head of the players
NBPA
and all that.
I don't think he is anymore.
Good for him.
I mean, at one point, Kyrie was. So, like, what are we doing here?
I don't. Again.
All right, let's bring it back because the Chris Paul hate is unnecessary considering we're trying to highlight the winners, and that is Ish Smith out of Wake Forest, Bruce Brown out of Miami, Reggie Jackson out of Boston College, which we're still trying to figure out how that happened.
All I'm saying is we about to talk about these people's personal lives, and we can't talk about somebody beating the addiction. I'm the bad guy for talking about beating the addiction, but we got to talk about Zion's personal life. Okay, well, whatever. I'm sorry. I don't want to be
that. How we're going to get here is we're talking about Chris Paul. He's an OG of the game at this point. Ish Smith is an OG of this at this point in his basketball career. Bruce Brown just getting started. Reggie Jackson, he's borderline OG. And then to me, New Orleans Pelicans is a fairly new team in terms of like NBA. So they haven't necessarily built the OGs a part of it, all the things that happen. And it seems on Hot Topic Tuesday, I talked about this on yesterday's show. We will be remiss if we as Locked On ACC didn't happen to just like bring up casually that one of the best players to ever play for Duke, one of the best players to ever play for the ACC, one of the most prolific, I should say, rather, maybe not statistically great, but like one of the most eye-popping, always had to, must-see TV players. Zion Williamson was going through a little trouble in his personal that has been very much distracting considering he barely, plays full seasons, doesn't make the playoffs. Certainly, don't see NBA title in his belt anytime soon. He borderline might get traded by the Pelicans after all this hoopla. So, for those who don't know, Zion Williamson, announced that he was having a baby with his child's mother. We'll say partner, girlfriend, whatever you like to call it. And then after it was revealed that he was having this baby, his former partner, current partner, side chick, whatever it is, revealed a little bit of disdain for the matter and decided to unleash on Twitter for the good old part of, 5 or 6 days straight of just unloading and letting her emotions out.
I'm finna report her. I'm about to report.
I mean,
that
I'm sure.
page.
I'm pretty sure Zion reported because she mentioned how like her tweets were getting taken down by him. So she's tweeting through it. So we all know tweeting through it. You know, sometimes when people get upset, we say, "Oh, tweet through it, all the emotions." Da, 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 da. I'm sure there are Miami Heat fans right now that are tweeting through their emotions and getting upset. But please don't be like Mariah and let it go longer than 2 days. You know, 48 hours.
Stop tweeting through it. Stop. I'm not a therapist.
It's embarrassing.
This ain't therapy. Stop.
Twitter is therapy for some, you know, especially for sports fans. It could be a hilarious, you know, therapy session. It could be a frustrating, it could be a scary, dangerous, life-threatening one.
Bottle it up.
Take your L.
Put it away. Put it away. I would have to be the type of torture that an institution or person would have to do to me would be against the Geneva Convention for me to disclose some of the information that she has over the past couple of days. Going out sad is an understatement. And I'll tell you this. As far as Zion goes, this won't affect him at all. These brands
don't think so?
That the most that might happen is maybe a family-friendly brand would get rid of him. But at the end of the day, he's got what, a $10 million a year deal with Nike. The Pelicans, he signed to $30 million a year with them. I believe 38 or something along those lines with them. He'll be all right. Nobody's going to care that a spurned ex or current lover is saying that he sweats a lot in bed. Like, nobody cares. Nobody is going to be like, oh boy, when he's healthy, he gives us 27 a game, but he sweats in bed. And Mariah told us we need to ship him off to Phoenix. Like,
but you also have to look at it that his owner is a woman, and Miss Benson, and it might be something where she is a little bit disappointed in the actions and things that are revealed about all of this coming out and the way it's being handled.
You think Miss Gayle cares?
Yeah, absolutely. She's a Catholic woman. Absolutely.
You think what city do her teams reside in again?
New Orleans. What's that matter?
What is that city known for? What it's something of the Gras or something.
As someone who's lived Mardi Gras, as someone who lived in New Orleans, it's not as like there's something for everybody. There's Buck Wild for if you want to find the Buck Wild, it's there. There's also very deeply, very much still very Louisiana, right side, think one way type of energy over there in that state.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure in the state, sure, but
also in the city of New Orleans.
The teams are in the city. The teams that picked up former ACC player Jameis Winston, and we remember some of the stuff about Jameis Winston. We remember the crab legs. We remember the allegations. We remember some of the things about him, and that team happily picked him up. So
but he's a family man now. It's a whole different thing. You're talking about a 21-year-old kid who doesn't know how to first of all, get NDAs, like who, first of all, doesn't know how to pick them. Like there's just a plethora of things that just makes this so stressful.
That's the other part about the Zion thing. Zion is also, he's not at the age where that frontal lobe is fully formed. He's not there.
I thought at what age does a man frontal lobe form?
Men and women doesn't form fully till 25 on average. So he's not there.
We're not the same. We're not. Women mature faster.
That's a lie. That is a myth.
It's not.
That is a myth.
That is
100%.
It's not.
That is 100% a myth. Socialization and the results of that are very different than biology. That is not.
Boy, this is the second day in a row you done been a scientist. This is the second day in a row.
I want you to show me since you're the one that said making a claim today. You show me the proof. You show me the proof. Since you made the claim today,
you love to be a ghost. You over here, Bill Nye, the science guy.
Well, you the one telling me that women mature faster. You making a claim, show me the evidence. But with that being said, this is not going to affect Zion. But what I will say is this: Zion, you live in 2023. Now, don't get me wrong, right? If you give most young people, especially young men, that amount of money at that age, they're going to go out and do some things that are unsavory. Not mad at you for that.
Well, okay, cool. But we're also talking about the age of NIL, where you talk about do your thing, young man, get your opportunities, take the money, blah, 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 as if like that somehow is going to make this better.
NIL ain't up there with what Zion doing. NIL, a good NIL.
Okay, even a 17-year-old, $200,000, $500,000 is to me just as bad You're giving them an incredible amount of money very quickly. Yes, Kenton. Yes.
It's not the same. Zion came to Duke for a year, left Duke, and signed the second most lucrative contract with Nike ever in terms of a rookie deal, only behind LeBron James.
What are you telling me?
You gave a 19-year-old that much money and didn't expect it to go off the wheels at some point in time.
So you think giving these kids hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not going to go off the wheels with that kind of money?
That's a different. You can't ruin your life in the same type of ways and do the same type of things.
Did you just say he didn't ruin his life? You say he wasn't going to be effective.
I'm saying that you can't do the same type of thing. So that was a little bit of hyperbole. That's on me.
Okay.
But you can't do the same type of thing. For example, the young woman who was tweeting about Zion, she probably tweeting about him right now. She said that he was giving her $100,000 a month or something like that, 25 or 100, something like that. Let me tell you something.
Lord, I see what you have done for others.
Now let's do the math on this. If you're getting paid $200,000 in NIL to go to your school, let's do the math on that. Okay, you get paid $200,000 a year. You meet a young lady on campus. You meet a young man on campus. Let's say we talking about you're the best swimmer in the world. They give you all the money in the world. You meet a young man that you're very fond of, and you say, "I'm gonna take care of everything for him." Let's just do the math. Can you afford to give him $25,000 a month, $100,000 a month off $200,000?
This is a terrible scenario
but you get what I'm saying.
I would count every grain of sand in the beach. But I think I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, what is $10K to some chick? And at the end of the day, that's life-changing money for a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old.
Yeah,
and I get it's exponentially worse for Zion in his situation, but all I'm saying is that boy ain't coming back to Durham no time soon, because I know Coach Shire ain't having him speak to no kind of boys.
Zion is in a situation. He is a unique case. That
is
the
he?
only person that can truly relate to him is LeBron James. That's it. No other player can. No other player can relate to.
I want to hear this.
From the moment they walk in the NBA, from the moment they walked in, there is a world in which you're a Hall of Famer and you still underachieve. There's not a single other player that walked into that type of expectation. Not one. Not one who walked into, if you're a low-level Hall of Famer, people will look at you and say, he was good, but he was overhyped. With Zion, what did they say? Every single day, hey, he's the best recruit since LeBron. Is he better than LeBron? If he was in the 03 draft, who would have went first? Him or LeBron? Nobody can relate to what he's gone through and has been through in terms of the spotlight that was thrust upon him immediately as a teenager, even when he was in South Carolina dunking on 5'8" kids that are going to be accountants one day. Like that's just the reality of what we're looking at. He's in a very unique situation. With that being said, the players who have come close, if we're talking about his Duke OGs, the Jason Tatums of the world, come on, wrap your arms around your brother. Come on. You need to go ahead and do something. The guys of the world who have achieved something of superstardom, y'all need to hey, this is how I do this. This is how, because let's not pretend like any group of people, you give them money, influence, all that good stuff, and they're going to be well-behaved with it. So the guys who have it and who have done good enough to at least keep whatever they do quiet, tell your man how to help your boy out. Help your boy out, because it's looking bad. Because not only was it, we're talking about Miss Mariah because she's the one with the Twitter fingers that won't stop.
Not you named her. Go ahead.
But there are multiple. You're the one who started it. Talk about Mariah Mondays.
I ain't saying nothing. Go ahead.
And there are multiple young women that have come out said, "Oh yeah, well, he was messing with me too. Oh, he was messing with me too." Go talk to the guys who are at your level. Who are, again, nobody can truly relate to you except one guy, and I don't think you're gonna have that great of a time trying to talk to him. I don't think that.
I think that if LeBron was a true OG, he should probably reach out and help him figure out where his best accountants are, or best NDA, best legal team, best PR. He need Olivia Pope. He need everybody, honey.
For sure, but he also needs some discernment. He also needs some.
But why would you? See, like we said, when you're of that age and you have nothing but money at your disposal and you have no one telling you no, the boy ain't been told no since he reminds me of Mr. Anya, where that boy ain't been told no from his mouth to his foot. Like he just, what are you gonna do? He gonna eat 10 chicks. I heard rumor when they were trying to recruit him for different brands. he was found hoarding Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. Chick-fil-A chicken sandwiches. And just said, his mom said he ain't never ate nothing that didn't have gravy smothered on it. I know, right? That's tough.
Again, these
the things you find out.
Can I just say this?
Hurry up. We need to wrap this up.
And I'm gonna end it on this. And this is gonna be my last comment of the show. At the end of the day, there will be worse things in the world. People will do worse.
100%.
Like Zion has not done anything against anybody's will. He has not taken anything from anybody. He has not hurt or harmed anybody.
Probably given too much. Yeah.
He has hurt or harmed anybody physically.
Probably himself.
You'll be okay, brother. You'll be okay.
We gonna keep you lifted. You know what? Ish, who gives his testimony, should then be followed by Zion to give his testimony about how he overcame his situation.
I hate
help the children.
I hate talking about players' personal lives because all of us got some mess in our personal lives.
Okay,
Lord
Pastor.
knows,
Come on, kid. Come on,
if
Pastor.
If it was to come to light, I'm just saying, if the worst thing, how old is Zion right now? What is he, 23, 24?
22 or something like that?
Something like that. Well, if the worst thing that you did at 24 came to light and there was a man, woman, whoever you did it with or whoever you did it to, tweeting about it all day and all night, would you be proud of yourself?
They better tell the story right.
But would you be proud of yourself if the story came out?
Honey, there are plenty of things that me and Peter gonna meet at the Pearly Gates to talk about. So
but would you be proud of yourself?
I feel no shame. I'm shameless.
Oh, okay, Frank Gallagher. The reality is, I know for me, I ain't had the type of money Zion had. I was dirt poor, working 3 jobs. I had a car that, that thing was rough when it got to go. And with that being said, if you look at some of the things I did, I wouldn't be that proud of it. So, at the end of the day, it's a young person doing young people things. Nobody here was seriously hurt or harmed. It's a sperm-dex lover. And back in the day, people couldn't do this, right? If you got burned, if you got your feelings hurt,
hold your L in
by
peace.
Somebody in the 80s, you just if Jay Will broke your heart before he broke his leg up on that motorcycle, what was you gonna do? What was you gonna do about it in 2002? You go sit there, be sad, and move on. It's 2023. Social media has changed things. People can talk all this mess about everything from your rooter to the tutor, from what you did in the morning to what you did at night, and how you did this, how you did that, what you're into. It's your personal life. We all do those personal things funny to somebody. It ain't got nothing to do with me.
Whoop, there it is. Well, we end the show by saying we're very proud of guys like Ish, Bruce Brown, Reggie, Jack White. We hope and pray that Zions of the world figure things out in the offseason. NBA is over, but we know that the portal and all the things for college basketball are still looming. We've got a lot of rosters to still try to figure out as we get towards the fall, but football is in full swing next month because we have ACC kickoff. And if you have not yet listened to our ACC football preview playoff schedule releases, you are doing yourself a disservice. We want you to be prepped and ready as we gear up for what will be a really incredible week and season-long talk of ACC football. So we got more hot topics. We want to leave that community poll open that Kenton will create up. You let us know what you want to talk about this summer. We'll make sure we do it every single Tuesday. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Until next time.